Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and hello whether watching L24 Midnight News coming to you live from Algiers, and to the headlines. To assist the continent in overcoming the challenges posed by the current geopolitical changes, Algeria favors the launch of integration projects with African nations. In the Middle East, Zionist military in Palestine has launched a raid on the besieged Gaza Strip as fears of escalating violence continue in the region. In order to combat terrorism, Burkina Faso proposed the establishment of security alliance with its neighbor Mali. And amid political division about Sanchez's position regarding the just cause of Western Sahara, Spanish Prime Minister landed in Rabat to participate in a ministerial meeting between Morocco and Spain. Hello again and welcome. Algeria assigns great importance to launching integration projects with African countries in order to enable them to adapt to the challenges posed by the current international situation. More in this report.
Algeria has always pleaded in favor of African integration through launching strategic grassroots projects that enable the continent to adapt to international challenges, such as the African Unity Project.
Since its independence, Algeria has launched with neighboring countries the latest integration projects in the continent through the Trans-Saharan Road, nearly 10,000 kilometers long, with the main access to Nigeria via Niger.
Another scheme that Algeria is keen on integrating is the road project between Algeria and Mauritania, which links the continent's north with its west.
Algeria also took the initiative with Mauritania to establish legal, procedural and industrial arrangements for the completion of the road linking the Algerian city of Tindouf with the Mauritanian city of Zouirat over a distance of approximately 800 kilometers, linking Algeria to West Africa.
Despite the financing and debt problems facing most of the African countries, Algeria pushed for the completion of the Trans-Saharan Fiber Optic Network project, bridging the digital divide in the region.
Also, the fiber optic network across the desert, stretching over 4,500 kilometers, which connects Algeria, Mali, Niger and Mauritania, will allow the development of the digital economy, bridge the digital gap in the region and achieve quality in all fields.
Great importance is also attached to the implementation of the Lagos-Algeria gas pipeline, along with Niger and Nigeria.
Algeria is very keen on implementing the Lagos-Algeria gas pipeline, which Niger and Nigeria, the two sisters countries, are following up and accelerating the pace of its completion.
Algeria leads African countries to launch complementary projects that serve the interests of the peoples of the continent, looking for economic stability that will spare them debts and foreign interference.
Syrian Algeria CEO of Algerian Sonatrach Group, Tawfiq Hakkar, revealed the company's intention to increase gas production by 8 billion cubic meters during the current year by entering new investments into the production and recovering associated gas in the current processing facilities.
Investments and projects continue in the country as the main objective is to reach a record increase in Algeria's gas production by up to 8 billion cubic meters within this year. The huge additional quantities are seen to enhance the country's position as a vital player in the global energy market.
We have a strategy for 2023. We have a goal to increase the gas production capacity by more than 8 billion cubic meters, in addition to the production level in 2022. All these quantities will be directed to cover the national demand and export.
This historic increase, which Sonatrach intends to guarantee through a package of new investments equipped with technology that enables the recovery of flared gas, illustrated in the completion of a fourth train of liquefied petroleum gas near Hassi Mas'oud, which would recover 8 million cubic meters of gas per day.
لمعالجة الغاز
The
المشبع.
fourth train to treat saturated gas enriched with liquids, especially liquefied petroleum gas and condensate. This gas was destined directly to the field in Hassi Masoud's wells without exploitation. Its investment value is approximately $290 million, and which we have accomplished to treat saturated gas. It can process 8 million cubic meters per day. We extract from it approximately more than 1,200 tons per day of liquefied petroleum gas and 150 tons of condensate.
I am really particularly proud because this is the result of very successful cooperation between our group Tecnimont and the Sonatrach group. Both teams have cooperated along the construction of this plant, all over the length of this plant, very successful, very efficiently, and even during a very complicated period, which was the period of the pandemic. So despite the pandemic...
Hassi Katara Crude Oil Processing Center is another facility with instructors to support Algerian production and improve flow operations with a daily production capacity of more than 60,000 barrels per day and more than 4 million cubic meters of gas, as well as recovering associated petroleum gas resulting from the separation process.
On Thursday, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, hailed the new investment law that the financial system reform in Algeria, as well as appreciating the country's efforts to strengthen governance and reduce corruption risk. The International Financial Commission, in a statement issued at the end fourth article consultations for 2022, considered that the strength of the Algerian economy's recovery has increased with expectations of acceleration in non-hydrocarbon GDP growth during the current year.
The fund staff welcomes the progress made in implementing public financial management reforms, legislative reforms that have recently been or are being adopted, including a new investment law, entrepreneurship laws, and renewable energy sources should help create a more conducive environment for private sector activity. The prospects of the Algerian economy in the short term recorded a tangible improvement, supported by the rise in fuel prices and surpluses in the external account and public finances expected in 2022 for the first time in a long time. Algeria's external financial position in 2022 was stronger than what was implied by the economic fundamentals and the foundations of policies desirable. The prospects for 2023 are favorable. Expectations indicate an acceleration of non-hydrocarbon GDP growth to 3.4% in 2023 on the back of the large increase in public budget spending. The current account is expected to achieve a surplus in 2023. It is expected that inflation will decline significantly, limited to 8.1% in 2023.
The Russian Foreign Minister pointed out during an interview with Russian TV Russia Today that Moscow and Algiers share completely identical positions. Talking about the field of energy, Lavrov said that both Algeria and Russia are partners not only within the framework of OPEC+, but also in the forum of gas exporting countries in which Russia and Algeria actively participate. Mr. Lavrov highlighted as well the two countries' efforts to ensure the stability of global energy markets. In the same line of thought, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said in a televised interview on Wednesday that Algeria is on the top of applicants countries to join the BRICS group. The Russian minister added that Algeria is certainly, according to its advantages and characteristics, at the forefront of the list of the applicants. Still with Mr. Sergei Lavrov, who praised the long-standing and good relations between his country and Algeria, highlighting the importance of the strategic partnership between the two parties and to active dialogue between them in all fields. Lavrov confirmed that Algeria and Russia have developed close relations in all fields, relying on an intense political dialogue, referring in this context to the phone calls between the Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. The African countries seek to strengthen joint action to combat the increasing waves of terrorism. and to work to resolve conflicts peacefully without the need for foreign interventions. Hussein Burkan on this report.
The African continent has been struggling with the issue of terrorism and has been seeking ways to combat it. In recent years, several summit blocks and meetings have taken place with the aim of promoting African integration and supporting African solution to African crises. These efforts have been aimed at reducing foreign interventions that have only complicated the situation on the continent. The Summit of Horn of African Countries, held in Mogadishu, Somalia, was a prime example of the African approach. The leaders of Kenya, Djibouti, and Ethiopia agreed to increase joint efforts to secure the region and to combat terrorism. This step demonstrates the continent's shift toward formulating new approach in war on terrorism. The first front in this war is military and security. But the leaders also recognize the need for economic and social development in border areas where terrorism is prevalent.
Need to support Somalia in its war against Al-Shabaab. Joint planning to clear southern and central Somalia of Al-Shabaab. Securing border areas from terrorist elements. Facilitating commercial activity in border areas.
The African continent is also increasing its representation in the international community. The number of non-permanent seats in the Security Council has been increased from 3 to 5, demonstrating Africa's commitment to fighting terrorism on a global scale. The African continent is taking significant steps to combat terrorism and promote stability. The focus is on formulating a new approach, intensifying coordination between neighboring countries, and addressing the root cause of terrorism through economic and social development.
The Secretary General of the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ammar Bellani, received on Thursday the U.S. Ambassador to Algiers, Elizabeth Moore. A statement of the Algerian Foreign Ministry indicated that the meeting was an opportunity for both sides to review bilateral relations and ways and means to enhance bilateral cooperation, notably in the economic and security fields. The two sides also hailed the fruitful cooperation existing between Algeria and Washington in the fight against terrorism and underlined the necessity to back the efforts of the UN Security General Special Envoy to Western Sahara, Stefan de Mistura. Prime Minister of Burkina Faso proposed the establishment of a security alliance between his country and neighboring Mali to combat terrorism. The Burkinabe Prime Minister affirmed in a statement published by his office after the visit to Mali that an alliance could be formed with Bamako that could grow stronger and live up to the aspirations of the two countries.
As part of the fight against terrorism, we will fight together. If we need Mali, they are here for us. And if they need our help, we will be here for them. We have the same fate. I carry a message of brotherhood and friendship to work together and quickly. I carry a message to Mali from the President saying that we are here to work for one goal.
Still, the African Meta Lesotho denied what was circulated in Moroccan media regarding the signing in Morocco of its former foreign minister of the so-called Tangier appeal, allegedly to expel the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic from the African Union. And in a statement by the Foreign Ministry of Lesotho stated that the kingdom's government distanced itself strongly and explicitly from this alleged signature and reiterates its permanent principled position regarding the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic and supportive of the struggle of the Sahrawi people. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez arrived in Rabat to participate in a ministerial meeting between Morocco and Spain. Amid political division about Sanchez's position regarding the just cause of Western Sahara, Spanish newspapers also criticized the biased position adopted by Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez regarding the Sahrawi issue, revealing that Madrid lost about 4 billion euros with Algeria in return for gaining 900 million euros only from Morocco. Moroccan popular activists protested in front of Parliament headquarters, condemning the scramble of al-Makhzen regime towards strengthening its cooperation with the Zionist entity, and as well as the crimes of its forces against Palestinian people. The Moroccan regime confirmed its exchange for expanded normalization with the Zionist entity's recognition of its alleged sovereignty over the occupied Western Sahara.
We are here today with the Moroccan Front to reject normalization and to gather for the sake of Palestine, to condemn once again the creeping normalization of the Moroccan regime with the colonial Zionist entity, because we see that our country is married in normalization with the Zionists, and this normalization makes us lose our national sovereignty.
Head of the Libyan Presidential Council, Mohammed Al-Manfi, discussed with the Special Representative of the Secretary General and the head of the United Nations Support Mission in Libya, Abdullah Batili, ideas for holding the election soon. According to a statement of the media office of the Council, Al-Manfi and Batili discussed the importance of tracks that enhance stability and support the elections, on top of which is national reconciliation. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development in Africa called on Wednesday for lifting of Sudan's suspensions from the African Union, as well as the lifting of sanctions that could hinder the transition to civilian power. The Secretary General of Body said in his annual report that the situation in Sudan gearing towards a solution, and Body working in cooperation with African Union and the United Nations to coordinate and support the ongoing national dialogue in the country in order to achieve a transition to civilian rule. The occupation forces in Palestine launches a series of raids overnight, destroying houses of civilians. The exchange further raised tensions during a particularly violent period in the long-running conflict. Nabil Khazini on what's follow.
It was a calm night turned into a nightmare. The occupation army launched a series of raids on the Gaza Strip, causing damages on the houses of civilians. This escalation comes after the so-called Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir said he would press on with a crackdown on Palestinian prisoners that could further inflame tensions despite US calls for calm.
وتقديري أن استمرار بن غفير في I think if Ben Gvir continues on this path, which won't add a value to the Israeli security, these are stupid steps, yes. The decisions are certainly important for prisoners, but if we look at them from a broader security vision, they are not important. He is saying only slogans which will lead to an explosion in the region.
In Al-Qudus, meanwhile, dozens of settlers stormed the courtyards of the Holy Al-Aqsa Mosque where they performed provocative rituals. In light of this escalation, Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtaya considered that the current occupation authority and its unilateral measures are dragging the region to catastrophic results.
The occupation authority exercises the worst forms of collective punishment on the Palestinian people, accelerates the pace of settlement expansion, and works to pass more racist and punitive laws that would fuel the conflict.
With the Netanyahu's government return to power, settlers' attacks with security protection escalated in the West Bank, and more settlement outposts were established. Faced with such a situation, Palestinians have no alternative other than confrontation.
China's foreign ministry said on Thursday that the Philippines granting the United States greater access to military bases hurts regional stability and raises tensions. This comes after Manila granted the United States expanded access to its military bases following U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's arrival in Manila for talks.
China has always consistently believed that defense and security cooperation among countries should be conducive to regional peace and stability and should not target or harm the interests of third parties. Out of its own self-interest, the United States continues to strengthen its military deployment in the region, which raises tensions in the region and hurts regional peace and stability. Regional countries should exercise vigilance and avoid being compromised by the United States.
Russian army announced its control of areas in north of the strategic city of Bakhmut, eastern Ukraine, where some of the heaviest fighting between Russia and Ukraine soldiers has taken place in recent weeks. According to Russian Defense Ministry, the village of Balhadontan, which is about 5 kilometers north of Bakhmut, was captured with the help of aerial support.
On the Donetsk axis, a successful attack by the assault detachment volunteers was undertaken with fire support from tactical and army aviation, rocket and artillery units of the South Task Force of the Russian Armed Forces. It resulted in the liberation of Blahodantne settlement in the Donetsk People's Republic.
In the same matter, Russian President Vladimir Putin attended on Thursday a wreath-laying ceremony in the southern city of Volgograd to commemorate the Soviet victory of Nazi Germany in Stalingrad 80 years ago. President Putin laid flowers at the grave of the Soviet marshal who oversaw the defense of Stalingrad and visited the city main memorial complex, where he held a minute silence in honor of those who died during the battle.
Those hoping to defeat Russia on the battlefield don't seem to understand that a modern war with Russia would be very different from World War II. We have not sent our tanks to your border, but we have something to answer for, and it will not stop with the use of armored vehicles. Everyone should understand that.
And now for more international news, let's tackle this roundup.
Hong Kong leader John Lee unveiled on Thursday a promotion campaign that will include 5,000 free flights to lure visitors, businesses and investors back to the financial hub after more than 3 years of tough COVID-19 curbs. Hong Kong was largely sealed off behind closed borders for much of the past 3 years in a bid to ward off COVID, with mandatory quarantine of up to 3 weeks for arrivals, as well as intensive testing and screening.
Amazon forecast operating profit may continue to slump in the current quarter as mass layoffs at the retailer only dent the financial impact of consumers and cloud consumers clamping down on spending. Shares fell 5% in after-hours trade, erasing their 7% gain before the markets closed on Thursday. Last month, more than 18,000 employees, particularly in its commerce and human resources divisions, lost their jobs.
President Joe Biden will call for government agencies to expand federal workers' access to paid and unpaid leave as he joins the former President Bill Clinton to mark the 30th anniversary of the 1993 Family and Medical Leave Act. The law, the first Clinton signed after taking office, guarantees that certain workers may take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave without losing their jobs or health insurance benefits. The law applied to public agencies, schools, and private sector's employers with at least 49 employees.
Haitians aiming at moving to the United States flocked to Haiti's migration agency hoping to benefit from the new humanitarian parole program. Dozens built up at the Immigration and Emigration Office in Port-au-Prince with their documents in hand to apply for the humanitarian program that allows up to 300,000 immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to enter to the U.S.
On Thursday, the Algerian local national team began serious preparations in anticipation of the upcoming final against Senegal on Saturday. The Algerian technical staff attended a special program where coach Majid Bouguera set up a video session, after which the players began the preparatory training session, all together with no absences. In the same matter, the sale of stadium tickets for the final game between Algeria and Senegal started this morning on Tadgirati platform, and in less than 30 minutes, all the tickets were sold out, thus indicating that this tournament was a total success at all levels for Algerian government as well as the Algerian national team and the local players who are under the fans' radar all over the country. Since the beginning of the continental competition, the tickets price was put to 200 dinar, but at the final game, the Algerian Ministry of Youth and Sports decided to grant the tickets for free following a governmental decision. And with this sport news, we reach the end of our bulletin. Thank you ever so much for being with us. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. And all I can say, at the end, good night.